Okay, in today's session, we'll see how to create the implementation project and by following that, how to create the primary ledger. These points we are going to see in the instance. Okay, we'll see the system configuration. So already in the previous classes, we discussed about roles concept, user management, and function setup manager. And in first demo session, we just gone through all these points to get high level understanding. Okay, we'll see how to create the implementation project. Okay, so to create the implementation project, first based on the scope of the project, we have to enable the offerings. Which offerings we are going to implement for the client, all we have to enable. After enabling the offerings, by selecting those offerings, we can create the implementation project. When you create the implementation project, automatically system will create the task list. Already we discussed what is the meaning of offering task list. In the last session we discussed, and we are going to see that. Just first we'll see what is the sequence of activities we have to perform in the system to create the implementation project definition. System will create the task list. Optional, you can assign offering or option or task to team members. Then you can just start doing the system configuration. Done. So we'll complete these activities. First we'll go and enable the offering. The previous session already we created a user, right? We created a user called as Shiva. Just log into the instance with this user. Now what we want to do is we want to create the implementation project. Okay, just click on user. It will open the panel. Select setup and maintenance task. Okay, here you can see, here we have a different task under implementation title. Just click on getting started so that you'll be able to see how many offerings we have within this instance, and you can see the implementation process which we have to follow. Okay, if I just look into these offerings, what are the offerings we have? We have financials. Okay, all these all comes under offerings, nothing but product families, as we discussed in previous session. So if you want to know the financials offering consists of which options, nothing but modules, just place cursor on financial offering. You can see the description for the same offering. So here you can see the description. Okay, this covers all assets, ledgers, cash cycle, invoice and payments, accounts receivables, collections, and setup of subledger accounting and tax configuration. So these all applications are part of financials offering. Okay, you can just click on this. It will open the relevant documents. For this financial offering, these are the different documents they provided where you can go through and understand which features we have, which configuration need to be completed to complete the financials implementation. See, offerings content guide. This offering, financial offering, consists of content of what it consists of, which kind of futures or which options all you can find within that. If you want to go through it, here the same, all these documents are available with the different formats: PDF, HTML, Excel formats. Yes, I'm going to select Excel format. Just say okay. It's not opening anything. I'll try with other one. Okay, just this is how you can see all these relevant features what are there as a part of financial offering. If you take task list and tasks, okay, just it will download and you can go through it. So these are the different tasks or task list we have for financial offering. You can just go through it. And what is the purpose of each and every task setup we do? The description also you can find. That is belongs to which product. Okay, which offering or which option also, that also you can see from here. Okay, we have many tasks and task configurations. Around we have 1,000 plus. Okay, this is just you can, when you are practicing, you can just download and you can go through it. Okay, this is the point to understand. Okay, just 1 second. It's not connecting from here. No issues, we'll go ahead with this. Basically here system will just give the flow diagram also here. What is the sequence of activities we have to perform. Now it is not just loading. That's not an issue, just done. So this is how you can look into which offerings we have, and within that what are the features we have, everything you can just go through documentation. Now what we plan, first activities we have to enable the offerings. Okay, as we discussed already, here first we have to enable the offerings. Which offerings we require client for client implementation, those we have to enable. How to enable it? To enable the offerings, here we have a task called as configure offerings. Select configure offerings. Select configure offerings task. So these all are the offerings. Already these are just, somebody just expanded this, just I'm collapsing. The fresh environment. Fresh environment, all you can see in the deselected mode. As a deselected, you don't find any offering which is already enabled. Done. Okay. So once you click on configure offerings, you can see all these offerings which are existed in this instance. Now say for example you are going to implement financials and procurement for the client. In that case you can just enable the financials offering. Since this is a test environment, the people are practicing on this instance, already these are enabled. But in the fresh environment you don't find at least one offering also as a already enabled. Okay, so what are the offerings we are going to use for the implementation? Just we have to go and enable. Okay, just we have to go and enable. I just enable of financials and say we are going to enable this procurement also. Okay, this is how just you can enable. Normally when you are going to enable first time, once you enable offering called as financial, it will expand automatically. So here we have a supplier invoice processing. If you enable supplier invoice processing, that means you want to implement payables. And if you want to implement fusion expense, nothing but I expense, you can enable this. To implement assets, you can enable this. To implement receivables, you can enable this option called as customer invoicing process. Okay, these we have to enable based on the business requirement, which modules we are going to implement. The same way for other offerings also, you can enable the offering. Within the offering, what are the options are available, you can enable it. After enabling, you can say save and close. Okay, you can click on save and close. Fine, done. Now next activity is go to manage implementation project. Just go to manage implementation projects, select this task. From here we can create the implementation project. Just 1 second, let me refresh this. Okay, task name is manage implementation projects. Here you can see all the projects. Okay, what are the projects are created within this environment, all projects you can see. As we discussed, you cannot do any setups without creating the project. In EBS, straight away you can go and do the setups, system configuration. There is no mandatory step to complete the setups in the system, to create the project in the system environment. But in Fusion, first we have to create the project by selecting the offerings, which offerings you are going to implement for the client. So once you complete that, then system will allow us to do the any system configuration. So we'll see how to create the implementation project. Just click on create. Okay, just click on create. Now here you can give the project name. Okay, what name we can give? Say I'll say Dell implementation project. And this project you can assign to project manager or somebody who is going to handle this project. So by default system is taking the username, okay, for assignment. If you want to assign any other user, you can assign it from here, user or say employee. Assign to, you can click on search. Say I want to assign to employee called as LAXMAN. Search for the user, say okay. Okay, this is how you can assign the project to so and so resource. Okay, let's go with the same user. You can give the tentative start date and a finish date for this project. Just we have to give the name, system default code description. By default project status is not started. You can assign this project to any employee. Generally just will assign the project to project manager, right? So you can give the start date and the finish date. Then click on next and click on next. So what are the offerings? What are the offerings already enabled in this instance? All the offerings you can see here. So for your project, what are the offerings you are going to implement? You have to select into your implementation project. Our project name is, here you can see, Dell implementation project. Dell implementation project. For Dell implementation project, what are the offerings you are going to select? You can select from here. Say financials. Here we have financials. Enable it. And within the financial, again, which applications means which options we want to implement. Say payables means supplier invoicing, nothing but payables. Expenses, nothing but fusion expense as per EBS I expense. And select fixed assets, select customer invoicing, and select collections. Collections are nothing but advanced collections. Here you can select other intercompany and BI reporting also, business intelligence. Okay, this is all. Just you can select all the options which are part of this offering. Now say you want to implement procurement also. So in that case you can enable procurement, and within the procurement, what are the different options we have? We have a self-service procurement, we have a supplier portal, we have sourcing and procurement contracts. And as a part of procurement also we have supplier invoice processing and all. Just you may enable that also. And BA reporting. Done. So this is how we have to select the different offerings and options at the time of project creation process. Okay, while we are creating the project, we have to enable offerings and options. Then say save and open project. Just click on save and open project. Now what system will do is, based on this offerings and options selection, system will auto generate the task list. Say I selected payables. If I want to do the payables implementation, we have to do certain setups. So to do all the setup, system will create the task list. Just click on save and open project. Just click on save and open project. Then now you can see system created implementation project. So project name is Dell implementation project, and within the Dell implementation project we selected two offerings called as financials and procurement. Now you can see our project status. The status you can see as not started. Okay, we can update the status to in progress. If you want to set the status for the project, click on edit. Okay, just click on edit and select the status to in progress. Select status as in progress, then say save and close. Then now you can see the project status. The same way, if you start working on these offerings, you can set the status to these offerings also. Say you started working on financials, click on this directly, or else select this offering. Just you click on this, it will be selected. Then click on edit status. From here also you can set up the status for that. Say in progress. So save and close. Done. Okay. So this is how we can set the status for any status for project or offerings. I'm setting for procurement also in progress. Done. Now other activities, this project is assigned to employee called as Shiva. The same way these offerings are within the offering, what are the options we have, or within the options what are the tasks we have, those also we can assign to respective team member. The other point we discussed, once you create the project, system will create the task list. We'll see that. Okay, just expand these financials. So you can see this all comes under task list. Under financials, we selected different options like supplier invoicing, expense, assets, right? Customer invoicing. Those we selected. Based on the selection, automatically system created this task list. These all are tasks. Okay, this we are calling as task list. We selected invoicing under supplier invoicing process. So system added all this. It all comes under setups. Okay. By using these tasks only, we can perform the system related configuration. Whatever you see here, all this comes under task list. This comes under task list. Under that, wherever you see go to task icon, that you can consider as a task. All task and task list are created by system automatically. The moment you create the project, system will create. It will create based on the what are the offerings and options you selected already. Okay, done. So now, say for example, these financials I want to assign to the team member. Okay, I want to assign to the consultant. These financials I want to assign to one of the consultant. In that case, what you can do is select financials, click on assign tasks, click on assign tasks, click on add, and to which team member you want to assign these financials as a responsibility to do the implementation. You can give the name. Just give the resource name as a frame. Selecting say apply and done. So save and in the same way you can assign the same task, same financials to multiple resource also. I already assigned to frame. I want to assign to one more resource. So Kiran. Click on search, select, click on apply and say done. Then click on save and close. So these financials is assigned to multiple people, multiple resources. One second, you can see here. Open this, expand this. Here you can see. Showing we assigned to Kiran Kumar, and along with the Kiran Kumar, we the same activities means entire financials we assign to two resource. One is Prem, other one is Kiran Kumar. So here what system is doing is we assign the project to Shiva. So automatically this Shiva will get assigned to all. Means all this procurement and financials automatically system will assign to Shiva only. Now total you can see 3 resources are assigned for this financial configuration. You can just place cursor here, you can see Prem and Shiva also. Okay, so that's how you can assign. If you want to unassign, you can go to the same screen and you will be able to delete the assignment. That can be possible. So this is how we can create the project. When you are creating the project, we have to select the offerings and options. Based on offerings and options, whatever you select, the system will create the task list, and entire project or particular offering or option or particular task you can assign to team members. Even particular task also you can assign to the team members. Say for example, I'm going to this task list. Within that, say we have a task. I'll go to this task list. Okay. I have a task called as say manage invoice options. This task I can assign to specific resource. So sorry, select it, click on assign tasks. This is already assigned to 3 resource. Okay, this task I want to assign to specific resource. I can remove this. I want to assign to this user. It's nothing but resource. Then save and close. Okay. But only this task is assigned to this user. Rest of tasks all are assigned to those 3 resources. Okay. So done. These are the points we have to understand. Okay. So here we have big list. Every time we need to access to this list, what we can do is already the project whatever we created that is assigned to Shiva. So just take the navigation. Okay, go to user, select setup and maintenance. Okay, if you go to implementation projects, only that project you can see here since this project is assigned to the current user, and you can see the progress of the project also. Here you can see that. So here, okay, 56 percentage is not started, and this rest of 44% is in progress because we change the status within this project based on that system is updating the status. Okay, and once it's completed accordingly it will be giving the sub indication and all everything. You can go through it from here, and once you complete the status you can update the status as a completed. So this is a process which we have to follow to create the implementation project in the Fusion environment. After creating this, then we can start with the system configuration. Okay, we can start with the system configuration. So we'll target primary ledger creation. Okay. To create the primary ledger, what activities we have to do? First, we have to create the accounting calendar. So create accounting calendar. Okay, first we have to create the accounting calendar. After creating the accounting calendar, we have to enable currency. After enabling currency, we can create the chart of accounts. To create the chart of account, we have a different task which need to be performed. So first we have to create the value sets. Then you can create the chart of accounts structure. Then within that you can create the segments. Okay, after creating this, in Fusion environment we have to create the chart of account structure instance. What is instance, what purpose will be understanding. Okay, let me just take that note here. We'll create the chart of accounts structure instance. Then finally we have to deploy our chart of accounts. Then we'll create the segment values. Okay, these are the tasks involved to create the chart of accounts. We'll see one by one. First we'll go to the task called as create accounting calendar. Okay, first we'll go and create the accounting calendar. When you talk about EBS, as per EBS, first we'll create the period type. Then by using the period type, we'll create the accounting calendar. When you are creating the accounting calendar, the definition of accounting calendar is completely manual process. But in Fusion, you can see good announcement where you can create the accounting calendar through automation. You have to set specific criteria, and by following by following what inputs system has to create the accounting calendar, you can set up and you can create the calendar automatically. In Fusion, you don't need to create the period type first. Okay, even calendar also you don't need to create a manual process. You can create the calendar automatically. How to provide when calendar has to be started, what is the period frequency, how many adjusting periods required, and what should be the period format. These inputs you can provide. Based on that criteria, system will create the accounting calendar automatically. Anyway, we'll see how to create it. Okay, we're going to create the accounting calendar. So if you want to create anything, any activity if you want to perform, just open the project. How to do this? Just user navigation wise, select setup and maintenance, and go to tab called as implementation projects. Select implementation project called as Dell implementation project. And here we have procurement and financials. Simply search for the task from here. You can search from here. You don't need to follow the navigation directly. Even EBS also will use Control L and will search for the function. Similar way here also you can search for the particular task. Okay, I'm going to search. Actual task name would be Manage Accounting Calendar. Here just I'm going to type Accounting Calendar. Okay, task name is Accounting Calendar. Click on Go. Click on Search. So system is displaying the task. Manage accounting calendars, manage accounting calendar. The same task. But the same task is available from two offerings. One is financials, other one is procurement. Even in EBS environment also, same navigation can be available in the different application based on the relevance. Right? Same way here also, accounting calendars you can create from procurement or financials. Here select financials related task called as manage accounting calendars. Click on the task. Now you can see the same here. If you want to know the navigation, okay, for the manage accounting calendars, here you have one, okay, show hierarchy icon. Just click on this up arrow mark, which will show the hierarchy. Nothing but navigation it will be showing. Okay, just click on this show hierarchy. So this is the actual navigation. Financials. Once you expand the financials, there will be one task list called as define common application configuration for financials. Again, that you have to expand. You can find define enterprise structure for financials. After expanding this, you can have a task list called as define financial reporting structure. Once you click on that, okay, again you can find another task list called as define calendars. Under define calendars you can find the task called as manage accounting calendars. Just what I'll do is I'll click on this, I'll click on financial so that you can see that navigation also. Let me just drag it. Okay, to create the accounting calendar, this is the navigation you have to follow. First, you have to just expand these financials, then define common application configuration for financials, then define enterprise structure for financials. The next one is define financial reporting structure, then just expand define calendars. There we have a task called as define accounting calendars. Now to create the accounting calendar, here we have a go to task icon. Okay, just click on this go to task icon against manage accounting calendars task. Just click on this. Okay, here you can see all existed calendars which are already created. Now anyway, we are going to create our own calendar. From this screen, click on this create icon. Okay, so just first you have to search for the task, then click on go to task icon. Okay, the task related screen will open. There click on create. Okay, this is the page where we can create our accounting calendar. Okay, I'll give the name. So same, just what name we are using. We are using Dell. So Dell accounting calendar. Just I'm giving short name since there is a limitation for the field to enter the characters. Here I can write the name Dell accounting calendar. Okay. Sorry. Okay, here you can give the start date. So this accounting calendar you want to create from which date? Say I want to create from 1st Jan. So I'm going to take the case as we are doing the implementation for US client. So select 1st Jan. Okay. Okay, Jan 1st to 2016. And provide period frequency. You want to create your accounting calendar, okay, by following which period type. Select here. I'm selecting monthly. Just 1 second, we'll reconnect. Okay, select period frequency as monthly. Now here separated. Okay, when system is going to create the period, what should be the separator between the month and year? And the format, the period format, here we have a different formats. Okay, you can select any one of the format how you want to see the period name. By default it is taking, this is how the format will be for the periods whatever you create. This will be created by system automatically, so you have to choose whatever the format you prefer. Here we have a adjusting period frequency, okay, option. Here you can select how many adjustment periods you require. So here we have a different options based on the requirement. You can select if you require one is in the starting, one is in the beginning and the ending, then you may select the relevant one. Otherwise just I am going to select here one set year end because I need only one adjusting period, that should be year end. I'm selecting done. So this is how you have to give the specifications. After giving these all inputs, if you click on next, then system will create the accounting calendar automatically. Okay, this is how it works here. I select it, then click on next. System created accounting calendar. If you want to add next year periods, what we have to do is just save and close, open. Once again, here you can see the tab called as next year. Once you click on next year, it will add periods automatically for the next year. We'll see that. Okay, system created. Now you can say save and close. Done. The Dell accounting calendar is created. Select this Dell accounting calendar, click on edit. Now you can see the tab called as add year. Now we have only periods for 2016. If you want to add for 2017, simple process. Just click on add year. System added for 2017 also. Okay. So this is how just we can create the accounting calendar. So any questions on project creation or accounting calendar creation? Any questions, please? Okay. Any
Yeah, I want to ask you a question. If it is not a monthly
Ganesh,
calendar, if it's a 445, yes.
Ganesh, we are able to hear a lot of noise.
One second.
Yeah,
1 second, please. 1 second.
yeah. See, I suggest you can type your question if you don't have an issue, or else if there is some background
One
noise.
second.
Yeah, please. See, Ganesh, we have a lot of noise, uh, so we cannot proceed
Yeah,
on
one.
that.
Hey.
I have one question from Naim. Hi, Lakshman. Here, adjusting grid is selected and enabled. Okay. So, adjusting period is here. Adjusted period is selected or enabled. Why? See, I'm just if you know this application already, just see. Frankly speaking, this training for the people who already have experience or knowledge on the product. So when you talk about adjusting period, we know right what is the purpose of adjusting period. Okay, to just have a adjustment transactions. Apart from standard periods, we can use some adjusting periods. So to have some adjustment transactions. That is the reason just I added one as extra. System is enabling. If you are doing kind of activity called as translation, we know we have a limitation. Translation cannot be performed for first period. In that case, you can have one more adjusting period in the beginning of year. Okay, to have some adjustment transactions. How to set up? Simple here. Just here we have option, right? You don't need to do anything. Just select that option, then automatically system will auto generate. Okay, your question here is 445 calendar. Yes, here you can select it. Then it will create automatic. You don't need to do anything. Then system will auto generate.
Thanks. I didn't see that. Sorry. Thanks.
Okay, fine. Okay, done.
Hi, Lakshman.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, please.
Can you show me the how many adjustment periods we can be able to select? Because some of the Europe countries needs 3 to 4 adjustment periods. So can we have that option?
See here, other than that, we have other option also where you can go on with your custom requirement. I'll show you that.
Okay.
Here, if you go there, if you click on create, here we have different options. Okay.
Yeah.
So once at beginning of the year and once at so I request anyone after asking the question we'll be discussing whatever the after asking the question you can mute yourself. We'll be discussing again any question you can unmute and you can ask me. Meantime I'll be discussing. Yep. See here we have a different options. One set beginning of year and one set year, end of the year. Other one is once mid year and once at year end. Okay, once mid-year and twice at year end, once at year end, twice at year end, none you don't want to use, and quarterly once. Okay, quarterly once, and we have a other option also. Here you can specify number of adjusting periods. If you give a number of 4 or 5 or 6, generally system will take in the kind of like where it will be taking year end only. So these are the different options are possible to give as adjusting periods. Shiva, any question?
Yeah, it's fine, actually. I
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah, fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, this is how we can create the accounting calendar. Okay. Now next task is enabling currencies. Okay, we know in EBS what we do. So whatever the functional or foreign currencies we are going to use in the business process, all we have to go and enable. If you don't enable, you cannot use in the process. The first point is if you don't enable, you cannot create your primary ledger with your functional currency. But in Fusion environment, you no need to enable any currency. You no need to enable any currency. All currencies are by default enabled. The reverse activity what we have to do is which currencies you are not going to use in your business, you have to go and disable. This is how it works. Okay, we no need to go and enable any currency. By default in the production environment, you can see all currencies are by default enabled. Okay, you have to go and disable which currencies you don't want to use in the business process. We'll see the task from where we can do that. So task name is okay, manage currencies. Here itself you can see this manage currencies, or else from here you can search and you can find, but task name would be manage currencies. Next to manage calendars, okay, if you just expand this task list called define currencies, you can see that manage currencies. So how to disable, we have to understand. Already by default all you can see as enabled. Okay, just click on go to task icon. So now for our demonstration for this testing, we are going to use say USD. Click on search. So already it's enabled. You can go and check any currency. All currencies you can see as enabled. Don't think these are enabled by other users. By default, these all are enabled. If you find some currencies disabled, that you have to understand somebody intentionally disabled. That's it. This is what we have to understand. Okay. So all currencies you can find in this environment as a enabled. That is a point we have to understand. And the next point. Okay. We created our accounting calendar currency already available as a with enabled mode. Now we'll go and create the value sets. We know in EBS when you are creating, just initially it's not mandatory you have to create first value sets. You can start with your chart of account creation. You can create the segments. After creating the segments, you can create the value sets. Value sets you can assign to the respective segments. Reason in EBS, the value set segment field is not mandatory. Anyway, process wise every segment value set should be there, but by default as per application the field is not mandatory, optional. So that is the reason we are creating the value set after creating structures, segments and everything. So but here in the Fusion, when you are going to create the segment, value set will become mandatory. Without specifying the value set, you cannot create the segment. So for that reason, first we have to create the value set, then we'll go and create the chart of account structure and the segments. Okay, we'll see one by one. We'll go and create the value sets. We all know about on what base we'll finalize the chart of accounts and all. So anyway, that we don't need to discuss here. For our testing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take just simple 3 segments. Okay, we're going to just create 3 segments: company, department and account. For these 3 segments we'll go and create the value sets. Okay, we'll go and create the value sets. Let's see how to do that. Go to your implementation project, search for the task called as chart of accounts value sets. Chart of accounts value sets. So here you can see the task name as manage chart of accounts value sets. Okay, you can see the task as manage chart of accounts value sets. Just click on this task. And here you can see the same manage chart of accounts value sets. Click on go to task icon. Okay, this is a screen where we can create the value sets. Okay, just click on create. We have to create 3 value sets for 3 segments. Click on create, give the value set code. I'll give the name as Dell COM company. Okay, since this is the code I'm giving, so here I'll give the description as Dell company value set, and this value set is for which application related structure. So select general ledger. In EBS, how we create the value sets? Directly we'll go to the chart of accounts. When you go to, before going to chart of accounts, first we have to select application as a general ledger, title as a accounting, flex field. Then within that we'll create the structure, within that we'll create the segments. From that environment we'll be creating the value sets. So that is the reason we are not selecting the value set is belongs to which application. Directly we are into structure, that means we are part of the definition, everything we are doing within the general ledger. But here we are doing outside of the structure definition, this value sets. So here it's mandatory, you have to select this value set for which application. So validation type, say independent. I'm just selecting value data type as character, value subtype test, and maximum length. We have a maximum size when we are getting the value set in EBS. In the same way here we are just calling as maximum length. I'm just giving maximum length as 4. So system will allow us to create 9,999 companies. We may enable just zero fill, like in EBS we have enable write justify and zero fill number. Similar to that, here we have this checkbox. You can enable. It will be adding zeros left. Okay, this is how just you can create the value set. Okay, say save and close. Done. For company we created a value set. We'll go and create for department and account also. So next one is say Dell DEP, and okay, Dell DEP is already existed. I think somebody created all this. I'll create like this then. Dell department, select module, general ledger, validation type is independent, value data type is character, text. Here also for department I'm taking the maximum length as 4 characters. It says save and close. Create value set for account. Then I'll just give Dell SA account. Seems to somebody created as a SCC, that is the reason I'm taking as a Dell AC. Select application as a module called as general ledger. Validation type is independent. Value data type is character. And the value subtype is text. Maximum length I'm taking 4. Then say save and close. And search for this Dell. So you can see others created. Yes, others also created. Anyway, this is one we created. So I'll just edit. Okay, it's freezed and all, not an issue. Okay, then we created these 3 we created. This is the one, Dell company, Dell department, Dell account. These 3 value sets we created. Okay, now we have to create the chart of account structures. See, all tasks we have in the sequence only. You can create one by one. The next task is manage chart of account structures. Okay, we'll go and create the chart of account structure. Then click on go to task icon. Okay, task name is manage chart of account structures. Click on go to task icon. So where we can create the chart of account structure. Chart of account structure we can create within accounting flex field. So find first of all accounting flex field. Okay, so here once you open this search area, just you can give the key flex field name as accounting flex field, then click on search. You can see the search results as there is an application called a general ledger. Within that we have accounting flex field. Now within this accounting flex field we have to create our chart of account structure. To create the chart of account structure, hit this tab. Tab is manage structures. Click on manage structures and click on create. Okay, just click on create to create the chart of accounts. Just give structure name. So seems to somebody just created the same. To make some difference, everywhere I'll be writing as del US, the prefix del US COA, or say accounting flex field. I'm going to write del US accounting flex field structure. Delimiter, nothing but segment separator. In EBS we can see the same as a segment separator. Here they named it as a delimiter. Select delimiter to separate the segment values. Selecting this dot. Then we given the structure name, all the information. Now we have to create the segments. But here if you notice, the segment creation option is grayed out. What we have to do is, after entering all this information, just save it. That will get enabled. Save it. Now you can see this is enabled. Now we can create the segments. Click on create and give the segment name, say company. No issue, just code also I'm giving as company because not a very lengthy name. Just tab out, it will copy the same name as the API name. So in general normal process we don't use this API name anywhere. This is just to map our system with some other systems for reporting and other aspects. Okay, that you don't need to do anything with that. Just give the name and description and sequence number. So sequence is 1. The prompt is company. This prompt, this is our system has to display the segment name. You can take the short name and display width. Okay, display width. This is nothing but when we are going to create the company values, company names. Okay, in how many characters the company name can be entered, that you can set it up. Earlier whatever we given value set creation time, that is value size. This is description character size. I'm going to give as a 30. Means the company name I can enter max 30 characters, in max 30 characters only. So column name, nothing but segment number, segment 1. And here it's mandatory when you are creating the segment to, you have to select the value set. Select value set. Just click on search. Value set name is del COA. This we didn't create, this is created by others. You can see here, this is the one we create and description we written like this. Done. In EBS we have a flex field qualifiers. The flex field qualifiers will assign to segments. Here the same flex field qualifiers in Fusion we are calling as segment labels. Flex field qualifiers we are calling as segment labels. When you compare with EBS, what are the changes you can see here? See here we have a primary balancing segment. Yes, in EBS also we have a primary balancing segment. And again we have secondary balancing segment. In EBS we have a secondary tracking segment. Okay, that they replaced with the secondary balancing segment. And in addition to that, they given one more balancing segment called as third balancing segment. That means within your chart of account you can have max 3 balancing segments. At EBS majorly one, and by using the secondary tracking you can have a secondary balancing also, but in Fusion you can have 3 balancing segments you can have as a part of your chart of accounts. The other one you can see one as a new. Yeah, please. Yeah, please. Somebody have some question, I guess.
Yeah, I have a question. So
Yeah.
in EBS, when you talk about secondary tracking segment, it tracks only your retained earnings and certain accounts, right?
Yeah.
You cannot actually create see, for example, if you have your secondary tracking segment as your department,
Yeah.
you cannot create an interdepartmental
Yeah, yeah.
entry, right?
Yeah, Ganesh. See here the point. I
So
got you.
in Fusion, is it possible?
No, no, I got your point. See here, the point is I'm trying to say you can mute yourself. I'll explain, please. Okay. So in EBS, what we do is we have a secondary tracking segment FlexFill qualified that they replaced with the secondary balancing. I'm trying to say that. So in EBS, with the primary balancing segment, whatever the transaction, whatever the processes you can do, all you can do with these two also, where you are going to assign these two labels. So when I talk about secondary tracking in EBS, if you assign it secondary tracking, we know, like if I assign to department level, I can track the returned earnings, I can track CTA, cumulative translation adjustment balances department level, and I can track unrealized gain and loss in the process of revaluation, and whatever resulted out of revaluation, those we can track. In those three concepts, you can use the secondary tracking. We know what is the purpose of primary balancing. It's all about to get balanced all the transaction and the reporting purpose. So however, we are using the primary balancing segment FlexFill qualifier in the EBS by assigning to any segment. In the same way, by assigning the secondary and the third balancing segment labels to any segment, the same benefit you can take from the respective segment.
So if I have a product line segment, because at one of the clients we had this requirement, so we wanted to have a balance sheet balanced by
Yes.
product line.
Yes, you
So
can.
if we use company, so if we use the company as the primary, which should be the one, and then I can use product as the secondary. So every product line entry I put, it will be balanced by product.
Exactly. Yes, that can be possible with this
Okay.
secondary and third.
So it will create an what do you call it? It will create an inter-product entry also,
Inter-product entry.
like an intercompany balancing. I'm just saying, like an intercompany
No.
balancing, it will create, if you have a secondary,
No,
if
no.
it has to be always balanced,
No, it won't work in that way. Simple
No.
point, you will be able to track in that level that whatever you want to track, but it won't auto generate this intra-company or intercompany related transactions. For that, you should have a solution called as separate segment, and you should map with this intra-company segment label just for tracking
okay.
purpose only. Okay, see, simple point I'll tell you here.
Okay.
I'm going to assign primary balancing segment to, can you mute yourself please? I have some little bit noise. Okay. Because see here, let me tell you, because to avoid that noise here, I'm not using fan also. If I'm just switching on the fan, I'm getting a little bit noise. I don't want to get into this session since we are recording. So I switched off fan and I'm sitting in that kind of room now. So that is the reason I'm requesting every time everyone like after speaking something, you can just mute yourself. Then I'll start answering. Okay, fine. So here, simple point. If you take if you assign primary balancing to say company segment, if you are going to do the transactions across and all, automatically system cannot perform that intra-company or inter-company, right? For that, you should go with the solution called as separate segment, and that you can manage. It can be intra or inter. In the same way for other segments also, when you are using these two additional segment labels, let's start calling it as segment labels since your naming convention is segment labels. So that is a point here to understand. And other we have something called as local use segment. This is for some countries for localization purpose they given, but straight away in the other process you cannot use it. The rest all labels are same as EBS. Cost center, intercompany, management, natural account. Okay, you don't see secondary. In that place they given the secondary balancing, and additional one they given third. Okay, these are the points we have to note from this screen. Okay, any other question?
Yeah, the only difference I was thinking, because they have made in EBS they have made it as a tracking one. Here they have put it as balancing,
Yeah.
so you can be able to still balance if you set up everything. Okay.
Yeah, there also see secondary tracking, and for the same secondary tracking, other name is secondary balancing segment flex field qualifier also we can call them, right? That just they address the naming as a secondary balancing here directly, that's all. Done. Okay, so now we have to assign for company primary balancing segment label. Okay, just select, then assign just by clicking on this. So this label we assign to company, then click on save and close. Seems to there is some network issue. So go to the project. The task name is chart of accounts value set. Now just we are working on structure creation, right? Just go to task icon, accounting flex field, then click on search, go to manage structures. The structure name whatever we given is del US. Click on search. Now click on edit. Here what was the segment we created that is not saved. Okay, we'll create again. Click on create. Sequence is 1. This is the prompt. Display width, I'm taking 30 characters to write the company name. Here column name. Okay, this is the value set we created for this segment. The column name is segment 1. Now assign primary balancing segment label to company segment. Done. Then say save and close. Okay. So we created one segment. We'll go and create other 2 more segments. Next one is department. Sequence is 2. This is the prompt. Display with this. Here also I'm giving 30 characters. The column name segment 2. The value set. Del DE we given. First one. Okay, for department just assign cost center. Create account segment. So sequence is 3rd. Okay, display width say 30 characters. column name, segment 3, select value set, assign value set to this segment, given as del AC. For account segment, assign this natural account segment label. So save and close. Done. Fine. In EBS, what we do after creating this chart of accounts, straight away we can go and create the values. Anytime you can create segment values. Okay, we can go and create the primary ledger and all. But here in Fusion, if you want to use this chart of accounts, against this chart of account, we have to create the chart of account instance. When you are creating the primary ledger, the instance only you can use as a part of primary ledger to complete the definition of primary ledger. Okay, it's all about just what are the segments we have, those we have to copy into instance. Through instance only you can use those segments and everything. From one chart of accounts you can create multiple instances. One chart of account you can create the multiple instances. How to create we'll see, and what are the other possibilities we have while we are creating the instance, we'll try to understand. Okay, here we have, just click on manage structure instances. Click on manage structure instances, click on create, give the name as Dell US accounting flex instance. I'll write the name as Dell US accounting instance. So if you notice in EBS, while we are creating the chart of accounts, there itself you can have one checkbox called as allow dynamic inserts. Okay, that we can see as a chart of accounts level. Reason, that is the one which we are going to use, okay, to access to the segment values to create the code combinations. But in Fusion, if you see here, okay, we don't have any dynamic combination creation allowed. The same concept they given name with the naming convention as a dynamic combination creation allowed. That option they given at only instance level, not at chart of account level. Reason, in the transaction process, okay, to use in the transaction process, instance only will be maintaining as a part of ledger, primary ledger creation. Okay, and now we want to create instance. Instance we want to create against which chart of accounts? That chart of accounts we have to select here. Okay, the chart of account name is taken Dell. So this is the one. Okay, Dell US accounting flex field. This is the name we given. Select it. So within this, how many segments are there? System is displaying. Now within this chart of accounts, you have 3 segments. But how many segments you require as a part of your instance? We require 3. So for that, what we have to do is, out of these 3, how many we require as a part of our instance, which can be used at the time of primary ledger creation, you have to select all of them. So I need department segment as a part of our instance. So select department, then click on edit, then enable as a required. Say okay. Now you can see here the department is selected for instance from chart of account structure. The same with company. And notice one more point here, when we are going to select any segment, okay, from chart of accounts to chart of account instance, you can override the value set. You can change the value set. It's not mandatory how to copy as these along with the value set. When you are copying that segment to instance, you can override it. Select, click on edit, say require, say okay. That means from one chart of accounts you can create a number of instances. Save and close. Click on done.
So, if I understand it right, in a global implementation, for example,
Exactly, same
we're
point.
having a global
Same Ganesh, yes.
No, I understand. In a global instance, for example, we use one chart, and once you do that, probably if I have like 10 operating units in different countries
Yeah.
using the same ledger. Some people like dynamic insert and some people don't. So in this case, what you're saying, you can create one chart of account with the same value set and create 8 instances, out of which 4 can have dynamic insert and 4 cannot have dynamic insert. Is
Yes.
that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, correct. 100% right. Yep.
Good, done. So here done. We created manage structures and we just created instances also. After doing that, in EBS what we do, we'll freeze the structure and we'll compile it. Okay, we'll freeze the structure and we'll compile it. Okay, here there is no concept called as freezing the structure, and similar to compile, here they give an option as a deploy. Okay, so it's equal to EBS compile. We have to deploy this chart of account and chart of account instance. Okay, just click on deploy flexifield. In EBS what we do, we'll select particular chart of account structure that will freeze and will compile. But here in Fusion there is no option where you can select your specific chart of accounts or chart of account instance for deployment. You have to deploy entire flexifield, entire accounting flexifield. Once you submit for deployment, within this accounting flexifield, how many chart of accounts and chart of account instances you have, all will get deployed. Okay, so that is the point we have to understand here. So now before that, you can go and see the deployment status. Now here you can see the deployment status is not completed. So whenever you create the new structure, automatically the status will be updated to not completed. But for existing chart of accounts which are already using, there won't be an impact on that. Okay, so entire this status for entire flex field level. Okay, entire flex field level. For that, what we have to do is just click on deploy flex field.
I have a question.
Please.
The cross-validation rule and security rule, at what level does it apply? Is it at the
Same.
instance level or the chart of accounts level?
Same as EBS.
Chart of accounts level.
Yeah. No. Okay. When you talk about okay, here this comparison, in this case, instance level, not at chart of account level, because
Okay.
instance
All right.
is the one which will be using for the business process to record the transactions. So it works at.
So in a global implementation, so if I have to do cross-validation rules, then I'll have to create cross-validation rules for each instance, right?
Exactly.
So I'm going to double my work. Like, if I have 100 rules, and if I have 8 companies, probably I'll have to do 800 rules instead of just 100, right?
Yes.
That sucks. Okay, anyway, thanks.
Yeah. See, in this environment, chart of account is like just template environment, which will just give you the option where you can create a number of instances against that kind of template environment. We are not at all going to use the chart of accounts in any business process. Okay, the deployment in progress, but you can see here 100% is completed. So if you look into here, just 0 errors and 6 warnings. Don't worry about these warnings. These warnings are not against our instance. Okay, there are some other instances already, chart of accounts and instance are created against that. If you want to see that, expand that, you can look into that. So those 6 warnings are talking about which ledger related. Somebody created MB ledger and some other definitions. This is talking about that. Okay, when you get some errors or warnings, you can just expand this. You can look into that. That is talking about which structure or which instance. It's not related to us. Okay, you can ignore it. Still, it's under process. Done. Okay, deployment completed successfully. Okay, then say okay. Now just go and verify the status of the deployment. This accounting flexible deployment you can go and verify. So deployment status is completed, deployed, done. Now you can go and create the segment values. Okay, before creating the, see, after creating this chart of account structure, okay, and if you go and create the segments, what happens is, so for every segment value, what we have to assign, we have to assign the segment qualifiers as per EBS. So those you cannot assign here. If you create the segment before creating the instance and deployment, also you can create the segment values, but you don't find any segment qualifiers to get assigned to the segments whatever you are creating for any segment. After creating the instance and after doing the deployment, if you are going to create the segment values, then system will give the option to assign the segment qualifiers. Anyway, the segment qualifiers in Fusion we call as value attributes. The naming convention they change to value attributes. We'll go and create so that we can understand that. Okay. So here we have a task called as, see, everything they given in the sequence only. What sequence we have to follow when we are doing the setups. So next task is manage chart of accounts, value set values. Just click on go to task. Okay. So first search for your value set. Value set name is Dell company. This is the first one is ours. Select value set. Click on manage values. Then click on create. So we given the maximum size as 4. I'm just taking the value as 1000. Name I am giving Dell, say consulting services. Okay, here you can see value attributes. So by default in EBS we can find allow posting, allow budgeting, but here you can see an additional value attribute called as summary. If you set this summary as a yes, against this value you will be able to create some summary accounting, summary reporting. You can do that. So we have a summary accounts concept in the same way for each and every value, which value you want to use for summary reporting, that you have to select here. Okay. So naming convention.
But summary is generally only for parent accounts, right? In this case, even for child accounts.
Correct. Wherever that requirement you have, what level you want to generate, you can enable it. But by default, they give an attribute. Okay. So which value level you want to go with the summary, you can just set it. Yes, generally summary will go with the parent level of value. Correct. So just click on save and close. Now just we'll go and create few more values so that in further sessions we can use for different testing purposes. Okay, here I'm going to give value as a 2000.
So where do you say it's a parent or a child?
Sorry. Fine. Parent.
Where do you say it's a
parent and child? There is separate setup which we call as account hierarchies. Like EBS, here you cannot enable which is a parent. By default, all comes under childs. All comes under individual values. So there. Yeah. If I select here, summary is required here. That account against that value, I can go and map some child values to the parent.
Okay.
So from there, we'll be able to do that.
Okay.
Yep. So here I'm giving the name as. Okay, if you want to try with that, you can try the task as create accounting hierarchies. By using the task called as accounting hierarchies, you can go and specify which are parent values, which are child values under respective parent. Here I'm giving the name as Dell computers. Some entity name I'm giving just. Okay, done. Anyway, allow posting, allow budgeting. Yes, default is okay. Accept. Say save and close. I'll just add one more company value. 3000. So Dell BPO services. Done. So we created segment values and we mapped value attributes to all the segment values. So done. Now we'll go and create the values for department. Such case sensitive. Just give us D. So this is the one. Del DE, this is the value set we created for department segment. So click on manage values, click on create. Here also maximum size we given as 4. I'm taking the value as 1000. So department is finance department. Same, just save and close. Just click on add 2000. Say HR department. Say marketing. Save and close. A few values we created. Okay, now we'll go and create the values for account value set. Such. This is the value set. You can click on manage values. Here click on create. See here now, I'm not going with some grouping of values for expense, revenue, assets, liabilities. Just I'm going to enter very random values. Anyway, we know that concept. We'll be grouping the all accounts into different groups to manage the process. Okay, here just I'm going to take returned earnings account. Here also you can see the value attribute. Summary already we have seen these two, and account type, third party, reconcile. The financial class category and all. Basically this is required when we are going to do the reconciliation between payables to GL and AR to GL. When we are working on payables and receivables, just we'll see what is how we can use this, and even we'll understand where this reconcile option is required. We'll understand these additional value attributes, okay, in the process of payables and receivables reconciliation. The rest of all are same as EBS. Already summary we have seen in case of company and department also. So here returned earnings, select account type as owner's equity. Okay, say save and close. Let's state few more values. I'll say something like admin expense account. Account type is expense, save and close. Create one more value. Say cash. Save and close. Done. These basic values are enough. Later we'll be adding and we'll be working on the configuration of transaction process. Say save and close. Done. So now just we're done with all the components which are required to create the primary ledger. Okay, calendar is ready, currency already enabled, and chart of accounts also ready. Accounting method same as EBS, the seeded one you can use as per your business requirement. If you want to customize, yes, you can do the same. Just click on done. Okay. So now next task. After completing all these, we're done with all these activities. Okay, now we'll see how to create the primary ledger. Create primary ledger. Any questions here? Okay, any questions on the discussions? Fine. Seems to know. Then we'll proceed with the primary ledger creation. Here we have a task called as manage primary ledgers. Search for the task, or I'll just simply search for primary ledger. You can see the same. Task name is primary ledger. The actual name you can see as a manage primary ledgers. Okay, this is a task. The same task available from procurement and financials. I'm just selecting financial based task. There won't be any difference. There won't be any different Both will open the same screen, same page where we can create the primary ledger. Just select manage primary ledgers task, and here you can see the same. Click on go to task icon. Okay, so against manage primary ledgers task, click on go to task icon. Okay, here these all are existed ledgers with the different statuses: completed, in progress, and errored out. Okay, we'll see that, we'll discuss on that. Click on create. Just click on create. The name I'm just giving as Dell US primary ledger. Just before that, I'll check some other people also testing with the same Dell. I'll just verify how they give in the naming convention. We'll give in different ways so that we can avoid the confusion all the time. Fine, no issues. Okay, no primary ledger they created which can tally with the same name. Fine. So we'll go and create it. Click on create. Give the name. Just I'm giving the name as Dell US primary ledger. You can write the description optionally. Select here your chart of accounts instance, not chart of accounts structure. You have to select chart of accounts structure instance. Name is this is the one, Dell US accounting instance. Select your accounting calendar. Okay, this is the name we given, Dell ACCCL accounting calendar, and select your currency USD, and select accounting method standard accrual. Then say save and edit task list. It's nothing but save and close. Done. So in EBS, what we do after creating that, we'll go and give the accounting options. Very primarily, we have to specify the returned earnings account. For that, here we have a separate task called as specify ledger options. By using the specify ledger options, we can specify other ledger options including returned earnings accounts specification. You can give the returned earnings account. Okay, now we'll go and just give the returned earnings account to our primary ledger. So task name is specify ledger options. Let me just add that here. Okay, specify ledger options. Done with that. Now we are going to specify the ledger options. Just click on go to task icon against the specify ledger options. Okay, we have to select, we want to set up this ledger options for which primary ledger. Okay, select this drop down value as a select and add. Then click on apply and go to task. Okay, so here you search for your primary ledger, that is Dell US, then use enter, then it will filter. Then scroll little down, then click on save and close. Actually it should be save and open. Okay, click on save and close. Now it will open the ledger options. Here as a mandatory you have to select journal language. Select US American English and select your returned earnings account. Company 1000, department 1000, account returned earnings account. Save. OK, then say save and close. Anyway, when you are working on GL based on the futures, we'll just enable and we'll set relevant options. For now, nothing is required. Done. Specified ledger options. Okay, done. Okay, this will also be completed. Now just go and verify the status of your ledger. Just go to manage primary ledgers. So primary ledger name is Dell US. Click on enter, it will show the status. What is the status of our primary ledger? Status is in progress. In EBS, when you are creating the primary ledger, okay, when you are creating the primary ledger, there will be just tab called as complete. Similar to that, here we have separate task. But anyway, we'll do the task after creating the legal entity, after assigning the legal entity to primary ledger and all. So we created primary ledger and we specified the ledger options. The next task would be say create legal address. Okay. In EBS, when you are creating the legal entity, as a part of legal entity definition, we can provide you can select existed legal address or else you can create the legal address. But here we have to complete this as a separate task. First we have to create the legal address, then we'll create the legal entity. Then we'll assign legal entity to primary ledger and we'll assign BSVs, balance and segment values, to legal entity from primary ledger. Okay, after completing this, we have to complete the ledger definition. Complete our primary ledger definition. Okay, after doing all these activities, you can complete the primary ledger definition so that the status will be changed to completed, then that would be ready to use in the transaction process. Okay, once you complete, automatically system will create the data roles. For GL application, we have a seeded job roles Oracle is providing, which can be maintained in the template. That also we'll go and see later in the sequence of process. So these activities we have to perform. Okay, these tasks will be performing the next session. Tomorrow session we'll see that how to create legal address, legal entity, assigning, and how to complete the ledger. This all we'll see in the tomorrow session. Okay, if you have any questions on today's session, please.
Yeah, so this is a generic question. From a cloud perspective, they say you have one instance you are given, right? So my question is, how does Oracle manage the instances? From a back-end perspective, do they give one production instance and everybody shares the same production instance? Or is the data striped in the back-end also? Do you happen to know?
See, here when you talk about instance, we know like in EBS how we'll maintain instance, same practice they'll follow. Only the difference is if you go with the cloud option, your instance will be maintained in the cloud source, means internet source. That's nothing but virtual servers will be maintained in the internet source with the technology called as cloud computing. So the rest of things,
Okay.
whatever you see that how things works in EBS in the same way it works, but in Fusion you can see between the application database middleware also, but that based on the our role and all will be touching the middleware. Otherwise, the rest of things will work how things works in EBS. That's it.
Okay.
But generally,
So why are they not giving access to the backend then?
Backend they are giving access. Backend they are giving access. Who said they are not giving access to backend? We can get backend access
Okay.
where we can query the data and we can see the information. But
Okay, then
depending on what model of cloud option you are opting from Oracle, there will be some restrictions. So say for
okay.
example, you can mute yourself. I'll explain that. Okay, here we have when you talk about cloud, basically already these points discussed in the very beginning sessions. I think you are missing for those discussions.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll go through high level. When you opt this Fusion application solution, I mean, if you go with this Fusion application licensing from Oracle, we have a different option. You can go with on-premise. On-premise quite similar to our EBS, how generally EBS all the clients are using. We know very well about on-premise solution where client has to buy the server infrastructure and they have to take the product license and the maintenance, everything should be done by client. If you go with the cloud, cloud means the server will be maintained. So we no need to buy any server infrastructure which will be costing very high for the requirement of fusion applications. That you don't need to buy, and you may not take the license also for the product, and you don't need to worry about server maintenance. Everything will be taken care by Oracle only. So what happens is, instead of buying physical server infrastructure, you can, if you go with the cloud, all the this virtual server will be maintained the cloud environment. The maintenance also will be taken care by Oracle only. If Oracle is releasing new version of the cloud, so automatic new version of the product, automatically auto upgrade will takes place if you are in the cloud environment. Again, that whether that option will be available for you or not, that depends on which cloud option you are using. We have a different models. One is PaaS, other one is SaaS, and we have many other options. If you want to understand this detail level, you can go through the previous sessions, whatever the recording sessions we shared with you guys. If you not yet received, you please inform us. We'll be sharing. If you spend some time to browse those videos, you can get all this information. After that, also, if you have some questions, yes, we can discuss on that. Any
Thank
questions?
you.
Yep. Any questions? Okay. Seems to no questions. Tomorrow same time we'll be connecting to continue from here. Okay. See you tomorrow. Thanks for joining this session. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Hello.
Bye.
Yeah, please. Somebody has question.
Yeah, Lakshman, I wrote one question there. What is the advantage of having chart of account structure in instance?
Instance. See here in the same discussion also we come across one point which is mentioned by Ganesh also. Say the point he was raising, if I am going to have like for multiple countries, for some countries they don't want to enable allow dynamic insert, some countries want to enable. In that case, if you have a global chart of accounts, that is not possible. You cannot restrict. That one point you can take. The other point is, this is how the just Oracle given the model to proceed with that, to just give the option from one environment you can create multiple instances where you can override and you can use it.
Okay. Lakshman, there is another question. Could
Yep.
you please provide step-by-step notes with screenshots?
I didn't get you. Notes for screenshot, what purpose that is? Because I'm going to share
Like,
the recording sessions. If you want to do the practice on the instance, you can run through that, you will be able to do it. So preparation of note by taking screenshots, not at all possible. That we don't have as a part of our course. So I'll be
okay,
providing that.
without screenshot also.
Sorry.
Just I need the steps because the video is, I am not able to write the notes while running the video.
Now, simple point here. Simple point here. We shared course content. In the course content, you can see all in the sequence only. Okay. If you need this classroom related class time, whatever the notes I am taking as a day one, day two, based on the explanation what I am giving and whatever I am doing in the system, this I can share with you. This you can follow, then you can start doing the setups in the system. Before that, you have to definitely you have to go through this video. That way you can try. There is no other possibility which I can find from our side. I can share this class notes. I can share these class notes. Apart from that, apart from whatever the course content we given, even in the course content also, all you can see in the same sequence. But here, when we are doing in the session, that will be more bit detail level that you may use. If you want, we can share this with you. That's it. But we didn't prepare any just kind of documentation, step by step screenshots, etc. We not yet done. This is how we are running. So that is not possible from our side. For that, again, we have to invest a lot of time to do all those documentation part. Yeah. Any other questions? Fine. Seems no questions. Okay, we'll connect tomorrow. Fine. Thank you.
Thank you, Prasanna.
Yep. Thank you, sir. Hello? I think nothing. Okay, fine.